All right, let's do it. Episode number 4 of Tony's Not a Podcast. This one coming to you after the Steelers' first loss of the year. Steelers lose 27-24 against the Indianapolis Colts. Disappointing loss. As a fan, I got to tell you, I don't even want to be doing this podcast today, if we're being honest. This was just, coming out of this one, it's there's glass half empty, glass half full, and we'll talk about both sides of it because I do think that there are some real positives to come out of this game, honestly. But the problem with this game, I think where we're also disappointed today, is that this is just unacceptable. Like, this is just, it's not the Steelers football we've watched through 3 weeks. And it's not the Steelers football that we watched really for like the last, almost 3 seasons. Like, one of the reasons why I was so excited a week ago about this team is that I felt like, when I talked about like they're perfecting the art of playing crap football, like we've like crystallized it or whatever, I just felt like, boy, they're so consistently playing their brand. Like, they're so on brand. They know who they are. They know what they need to do. They understand the assignment every week. Dominate the line of scrimmage. Do just enough offensively. Don't screw it up for yourselves. Right? They're playing pretty consistent football in that way. And they've really been doing that, not just the 3 games we watched in 2024. They really did that for the large majority of 2023. I mean, if you throw out, asterisk, but you have to if you throw out the Mitch Trubisky games, because Mitch Trubisky was just incapable of playing mistake-free football, right? Don't screw it up offensively. Mitch Trubisky did not understand the assignment. I mean, it's just like straight up. But you look at all the Mason Rudolph games and all the Kenny Pickett games, and outside of the ones where, they were massive underdogs, essentially, the San Francisco game to start the year, San Francisco Super Bowl team, Steelers at that time, not. They got blown out in that one, sure. They got blown out by Houston, who ended up being a very good team. Steelers, the Steelers had a very narrow path to victory. They got blown out in that one. And they got blown out in the playoff game by Buffalo. Again, Buffalo, just a much better team than the Steelers. But if you look at every other game outside of those 3, the games where they were just, it was a complete mismatch. Felt like, man, in games where they match up decently well, they are playing their brand of football to a T. I mean, it is so consistent. Every time you get into a game where it's like, oh, they could blow this one. They should win this one, but they could blow it. No. Every time, consistent. Defense dominates. Offense is just enough. Defense dominates. Offense is just enough. They're almost undefeated in those football games of the last, year plus. And all this year, and then the majority of, the Browns game last year is the only one. They lost 13-10 to DTR. And Matt Canada got fired for it, so I'll take it. But I think, that's what's disappointing here is I just felt like I thought we were beyond this. I know it's been a criticism of Tomlin in the past, like, they look past teams and they come out flat and all that. I just felt like the things that got me excited about 2024 was like, well, that doesn't happen anymore. They could have easily looked past teams like Atlanta or Denver early on in the year. They didn't. And they played their brand of football almost to a T in those football games. And so to come out in this game and look as flat as they did early on, and then it's not just they looked flat, because that really only lasted about a quarter and a half. It's that they continued to make, just bonehead mistake after bonehead mistake. This is a team that, outside of the defensive performance, you could argue that, like, yeah, defensively they lost them the game because they gave up 17 points early, and this is not a team that can play from a negative game script, and you can make that argument if you want. But I could also conversely argue that the offense just shooting themselves in the foot, a million times in the first quarter of this game, or sorry, through 4 quarters of this game, is actually the reason why we lost this game. That's so frustrating. That to me again is like, now I don't know what to think. Now I look at this team and I'm like, boy, I thought that Mike Tomlin had this team understanding the kind of team they were, and I come out of this game thinking maybe they. Nick Saban talks about it a lot, right? How you handle success. It's not just handling failure is its own thing, and you got to be able to handle failure well and not give up and fight back, right? But equal to that is how you handle success. Nick Saban used to call it rat poison, right? All this rat poison. You get teams believing in themselves, and all of a sudden they feel like, well, we just show up and we win. And it's hard for me to watch the first quarter of that football game with Indy blowing the Steelers off the ball play after play for like the first 4 possessions of this football game and not feel like that's kind of what happened here. But again, outside of that, let's go through the offensive drive chart because I'll show you what I mean by this. The Steelers did get blown off the ball at the beginning of this game, and being down 17-0, again, to a team like Indy, a team with Anthony Richardson and Joe Flacco playing, unacceptable. You're down 17-0 to Josh Allen. You're down 17-0 to Patrick Mahomes. You're down 17-0 to the better offenses in the league. Okay. That's going to happen. But this is not acceptable. Now, outside of that, what happened offensively is equally unacceptable. And I think this is the best offensive game the Steelers have played in a very, very long time. There's a lot of hope coming out of this game because of what happened offensively. But I think we shouldn't ignore some of the brutal mistakes that this offense made at times. So let's talk about it. We start with drive number one. Drive number one. The Steelers are driving a little bit. There was a roughing the passer call in that third down play. Broderick Jones got beat badly on that first third down. They took a sack. They called the penalty for landing on the quarterback. I hate that rule, but it is a rule. I mean, the Steelers get called for that all the time, so whatever. We take those. Steelers move the ball a little bit. They have moved the ball. It is about to be 3rd and 8 from the Indianapolis 34-yard line. A 51-yard field goal. Boswell range for sure. He's been money in the bank, especially from 50-plus this year. And yet they get called for unnecessary roughness. The Steelers' offensive line gets called for unnecessary roughness. And this is the thing I talked about last week. You can't have this. You cannot have before and after the play penalties. Holding, all that's, all the things like illegal hands to the face, yada, yada. Okay, offensive pass interference. Those are things you also want to correct, but those are during the play type stuff. The before the play stuff is just, this is football 101. Line up correctly, move at the snap of the ball. Do not hit players after the play. That's the easy stuff. That's the stuff where it's like, that's easily correctable. And yet, here we go again. 15-yard penalty, take them out of field goal range. No points on drive number one. Due to their own mistakes. Drive number two. Drive number two is the one where Justin Fields gets caught in the backfield on 4th and 1. Barely makes it back to the line of scrimmage. Steelers turn the ball over on downs. Now, that play in and of itself was disappointing enough. The Steelers put Ryan McCollum in, 6 offensive linemen, big set, right? We're going to run Justin Fields, quarterback run play. Like the call, like the idea of going for it on 4th and 1. Love it. Execution sucked. Ryan McCollum didn't block anybody. 6 offensive linemen. You bring an extra offensive lineman in, you do expect that he's going to touch a defender. I mean, low bar. But I do expect that if I bring an extra offensive lineman in the game, he is going to make contact with another defensive player on the play. That's my own personal expectation of it. Maybe Ryan doesn't have those. Anyway, the Steelers turn the ball over on downs. The thing about that drive, though, it's not just, obviously, piss poor execution on that play. Terrible. But it's not just that play that was poor about that drive, okay? Let's rewind a bit. Let's rewind by 2 plays, okay? Before it was 4th and 1, it was 2nd and 3. This offense had 2nd and 3 and went 2nd and 3, 1-yard gain. 3rd and 2, 1-yard gain. 4th and 1, no yard gain. What? Again, and I understand the offensive line isn't exactly run blocking well. But I'm not asking for this team to break off 40-yard runs, 50-yard runs, right? Again, we're not talking about Najee Harris averaging 5 yards a carry. It's not what we're asking for. You can't get 3 yards in 3 plays? You can't get 3 yards in 3 plays? Pathetic. That's, again, when you talk about, just execute. I'm not talking about, I can't believe the Steelers couldn't convert on 3rd and 22 here. I'm talking about, I can't believe this offense couldn't go from 2nd and 3 to 1st and 10. They went from 2nd and 3 to 3rd and 2 to 4th and 1 to turn the ball over on downs. Let's move on. Next drive, Steelers go 3 and out. Not much to say on that one. And the Steelers, although, again, they did move the ball. We talked about success rate stuff. They actually were kind of moving the ball. 1st and 10 to 2nd and 6 to 3rd and 3, and then couldn't convert on 3rd and 3 punt. Okay. Moving the ball a little bit, though, right? It's, glass half full. Move the ball a little bit. Next drive. 9 plays, 91 yards, take 5 minutes off the clock. It is, no doubt in my mind, the most effective drive the Steelers have had all year long. This is the best drive the Steelers had all year. No doubt in my mind. To this point. At this point in the game, it was, halfway through the second quarter. Steelers started at their own 4-yard line. They go 9 plays, 91 yards. And what did I say last week? I did this whole rant last week about success rate and how, you're going to go on 12-play drives. The best thing you can do is to, not just pick it all up on 3rd down, but be more effective on 1st and 2nd down. In fact, I did this whole rant about, what the best way to convert on 3rd down is? Don't even get to 3rd down. Get those yards on first and second, right? This whole success rate, oh, they got to be better. 9 plays, 91 yards. Anybody want to take a guess of how many third downs they faced on this drive? How many times did the Steelers face third? Not how many times did they convert. How many times did they even face a third down on this drive? 0. It's the best drive we have. Let me just read you the play-by-play of the yards gained. This is yards gained play-by-play. 4, 12, 14, 11, 1, 20, 9, 10, 10. That's legitimately good offense. And I'm not, I talk about like crystallizing bad offense and like, yeah, we can get it into like, 3rd and 6 and just like get by that way. No. That was legit. What you just heard right there. 4, 12, 14, 11, 1, 20, 9, 10, 10. That's good football. That's just good offensive football. That's no asterisk, no like for the Steelers it's good football. That's just straight up good football. Now you might be wondering, wait, how did that drive end? They did that. It was a great drive. How did it end? Oh, it ended in George Pickens fumbling the ball at the 3-yard line. What's going on? The best Steeler drive they've had all year ends in George Pickens deciding that he's going to hold the ball like a loaf of bread and fumbles. Cool. All right, let's move on. Next drive, not much to say on that one. That was the one they got field goal at the end of the half. Not a whole lot to say there. Next drive, start of the second half. Again, I don't have a lot to say about this one. 8-play drive. They got the ball to about midfield. Once again, got themselves into a third manageable, 3rd and 4. Couldn't convert here. Didn't love that, but okay. Not terrible. Next drive. Starts at the Indianapolis 33-yard line. Why did the Steelers start in Colts territory? Because Calvin Austin had his best punt return of the year. 30-yard punt return. Gets the Steelers into field goal range. 33-yard line. As we talked about this earlier. Chris Boswell, money from 50 this year. You can basically just count on him to make those 50-yard field goals right now. So if you move the ball 0 yards, you still at least should get a field goal out of this. This is still at least good enough for a field goal. But as we're seeing, the Steelers moving the ball well. So maybe I can hope for a little more than that. Well, let's see what the Steelers did on this drive. They started at the Indianapolis 33. First play, incomplete pass to Najee. Second play, they got stuffed at the line of scrimmage. So now they're in 3rd and 10. That's tough. But maybe get a couple yards here, make the field goal a little easier. Hell, maybe you convert. But just what can't you do on this play? What can't you do? Oh, right. You don't want to take a sack. No negativity on this play. I wonder what happens. Oh, this is the one where Justin decided, what if I ran the ball 20 yards backwards and then fumbled? What would happen then? Okay, let's break down the play itself. This is the one I believe the Steelers were in 5-man protection and the Colts were bringing 6. Right? The Colts were definitely bringing more than the Steelers had to protect. And so when that happens, basically the way that it works is the offensive line is generally taught to let the guy go free who has because you have to, right? They have more guys to block than you. They have more guys sending than you have to block. So someone's coming free. You want that player to be the guy who has the furthest line to the quarterback. Justin, I believe, shifted the protection left on this play. So he now knows if they're bringing more. Now, sometimes you can have simulated pressures where they send guys out. But if they're bringing more, he's going to come from the right side. So he knows this. Justin knows this. He slides the protection left. Guy's coming from the right. Cool. Great. Awesome. And then Justin decides he's going to roll out. Doesn't hit his hot. So again, the quarterback is responsible for the last guy. The last guy is going to have the furthest pass to the quarterback, and the quarterback is responsible for the last player. Meaning, you are hot. Get rid of the ball. Does Justin get rid of the ball? No. He runs 20 he runs 20 yards backwards and then fumbles, which is the ultimate Justin Fields play, right? I love it. This is his best game. This is Justin Fields' best game. No doubt in my mind. Justin, in the second half of this game, put the team on his back, made money play after money play. I mean, some of the we talk about how effective this offense was. A lot of that was because Justin was doing well. They didn't run the ball well. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen Najee's stat line in this game. Najee wasn't lighting it up out there. This was Justin Fields doing Justin Fields things. The problem is that part of Justin Fields things is running 20 yards backwards and fumbling the ball. So, once again, the Steelers could have put some points on the board there. But they didn't. Okay, next 3 drives. Touchdown. 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 This is where it's like it's glass half full, glass half empty, baby. Because, the Steelers had 3 touchdown drives in a row in this football game. And they went on those 3 drives. Do you know how many third downs they faced in all 3 of those drives combined? Again, I talk about like success rate. Can you move the football? Can you move the ball efficiently, right? Right down the field. Efficiently meaning, chunks. Not big, not necessarily always big chunks. Big chunks, medium chunks, right? But we want to be constantly staying ahead of the chains. The Steelers, on the 3 touchdown drives in a row that they had in the second half, faced 4 third downs in the 3 drives combined. I mean, once again, this offense was lighting it up out there. Lighting it up out there. So cool, man. Great. Awesome. They figured it out. So that means that when they get the ball back with that last possession, we got a chance to come down there, at least tie the football game in this offense, moving the ball at will. 4 third downs faced in 3 drives. I mean, we are moving it. So, Steelers get the ball back. 2 minutes, 40 seconds to go on the clock. 4th quarter, down 3. Boswell can make it from 50 plus. So all you got to do is get the ball to like the 35-yard line of Indy, and we're good to go. They fumble a snap, which today everybody's trying to play the blame game of like, well, was it the center's fault? Was it Fields' fault? I know it's 3 young players. Like McCollum's playing left, or not McCollum. McCormick's playing left guard. He's a rookie. You got a rookie center. Fields is trying to adjust it when the safety came down. Look, guys. I understand the details do matter, but this is Game 7 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This has been 3 preseason games played. This has been going on since preseason game number 1. How many bad snaps have we seen in the 7 games the Steelers have played this year, going back to the preseason? I think the number is actually 7. I think we've seen 7 bad snaps in 7 games. I mean, so spare me the details. I don't care what the details are. Okay. I go back to football 101 stuff. Hey, hike the ball good. I don't know if that's too much to ask for. Maybe I have too high a bar for my offense, but I would love it if just like hiking the ball were just I didn't have to take for granted. I would love to take for granted the fact that the center and the quarterback can exchange the ball to one another. I don't know, professional football. Like, I think that might be like a baseline level of like, that's what I need to be able to see. And we're 7, again, this is going on for 7 games. 7 games of this. Steelers. And so then they lose the game. That's so stupid. What an incredibly stupid loss. Again, what from top to bottom, all the way, as stupid a loss as you could possibly see in the National Football League. I thought Justin played as good a football as you could possibly see him play. I mean, this is the top of the line Justin Fields, 330 yards, moving the football at will, right? True efficiency in this game. True, real efficiency. Remember I talked about success rate last week, and the Steelers had like 33% success rate on the year, and that's unacceptable, and you want it to be closer to like 45, 50% to be considered like a good offense. The Steelers' success rate in this football game was 48%. This was legitimately good football when they were able to like move it. But then the Steelers decided, actually, what's the worst thing we could possibly do right now? What's the worst thing that could happen? And then they just, so frustrating. It's hard for me after this game. Like, what do I think about this team coming out? How much less do you think about this team coming out of this loss? Because I certainly have questions defensively. Although I don't know. Like, I would love to be able to come out of this game and just say, all right, Shane Steichen got him again. Like, Steelers DB Derek Bell has done a good job of talking about this, about how well Shane Steichen has game planned against the Steelers, going back to his time in Philly, how effective they've been against the Steelers defense the last 4 times they've played each other. And I'd love to be able to sit here today and just be like, damn, they got us. But I do think that part of this problem defensively was just straight up lack of effort early on. There's, again, the other team wanted it more. I mean, I know that's like very fan cliche, but I have a hard time watching those first 4 drives of this game on offense and defense and not saying that the Colts were the team that wanted it more. They desired it more. And for the Steelers, again, desire to play a certain way, that should never happen. That should just never happen, especially against a team like the Colts who are not, I mean, they're, I don't know. I have a hard time with this, like, how good are the Steelers type thing. I do think the Steelers are a better football team, especially if they can play their way. They're a better football team than the Colts. They should not lose this football game. And honestly, even all the negativity that happened to them defensively, like there's a lot of parts of this game offensively. You're just like, man, if you could just be normal, if you could just do normal things, just have normal problems. Like their running game is bad enough. Like that would be like a thing where we would be coming in today being like, this running game is not good. We got to fix these things. But the running game is the least of my worries today. I could go on a whole Najee Harris rant today, but I'm not going to do it because I don't even think Najee Harris is the biggest problem with this team. The silly mistakes over and over and over again are the problem offensively. Defensively, we are going to need to have a real discussion about Patrick Queen at some point. I won't do it today because, we are only 1 month into the season. But, the kid glove stuff with PQ's got to stop at some point. He's the fifth highest paid player at his position. As an interior linebacker in the National Football League, he is a top 5 paid player. We're gonna have to have a discussion about PQ at some point. But coming out of this one, it's a disappointing loss. It hurts because you're gonna look back at this one at the end of the year. This is definitely gonna be a game at the end of the year. We're gonna go, damn, if they could have just not lost that football game with all the stupid things that happened throughout the game, they would be in a better position. That's just football karma works out that way. You lose a stupid game like this, and then you end up looking back at the end of the year and going, boy, if we had just not shot ourselves in the foot in that one, they could have been better off. Anyway, not much else to say coming out of this one. There's a glass half full thing where I am impressed with the idea that this team was able to have such a negative game script. Actually, let's talk a little bit about this before I go. Because I've talked about this team being a very game script dependent team. Meaning that they need to play a certain style, and the game needs to play out in a certain fashion in order for the Steelers to be competitive. Right? Positive game script means that you are either ahead or the game is close. Right? That's neutral or positive game script is where the Steelers need to be. Negative game script, meaning that you fall behind early and you are behind for the majority of the game, is just not where the Steelers play their best football. Especially when you're down 3 scores. The Steelers were down 3 scores. 3 scores in the second quarter. Early on in the second quarter, 17-0 Colts. That's as negative a game script as you could possibly have. And it really is the kind of game script where, to me, I've kind of taught myself like that, the Steelers can't win that game. The defense is not playing well early. There's just no digging yourself out of that hole right now. And the thing that I again, going back to glass half full, the thing that I am impressed with is like this team had a real chance at the end. They had the ball with 2 minutes to go on the clock with a chance to either tie or take the lead and potentially win the game in the fourth quarter. Even after that, that is a positive development for this team. That means that this team may not be as game script dependent as we had assumed. But the other problem I have with this team is like for a team that is like that wants to play this, like don't turn the ball over, conservative, don't make mistakes. There's so many. They got to cut the mistakes out. That's the other thing to me that's like it's unacceptable. So yeah, frustrating loss for the Steelers. We'll see how they do against Dallas coming up next week. Another home game. Dallas, I think, boy, if they can't run the ball against Dallas, then we're going to need to have like the Najee Harris conversation. We're going to need to have a discussion about the offensive line where it is Arthur Smith, all that, because the run game's not working. And I know you could argue like they're putting too many guys in the box, but the play action game's not working either. So it's not just like, oh, teams are keying on the run so much. Well, then you should be able to beat them over the top in play action, but the play action game's also not working. So again, I'm going to reserve judgment a little bit on that stuff. We'll see how they do against Dallas. I think it's a better matchup for them as far as Steeler offense versus Dallas defense. They should be able to run the ball a little more in that one. Dak in that offense. CeeDee Lamb's going to be a tough challenge. Joey Porter did not have a good game in this one. So we'll see how that one plays out. Disappointing loss for the Steelers, but not ready to look. No writing the season off or anything. It's a stupid loss. It's a silly loss, but these are correctable things the Steelers can work on. So let's see what happens going forward.